concerns or ask for improvement from the speakers or trainers themselves. And so even for this session, if you feel that there's something that you need to say, please feel free to raise your hand and make sure that you raise, ask a question or say, would like to improve on this. And later, we'll also make sure that you provide feedback, based on what your satisfaction, using, based on your expectations and needs that you already spoke to COLEAD, and now the training has been delivered. You can evaluate your own satisfaction to make sure that your expectations have either been met, and if they haven't been met, what are the additional needs that still remain? And that feedback helps the COLEAD to be able to redesign the trainings to make sure that we constantly improve and meet the expectations. But at the same time, you are free, please, to provide feedback to COLEAD. COLEAD provides those forms where you can send a complaint if you're unhappy by the process, by the communication, by the trainers, all that you'll be able to provide. And feel free to do that so that also it can form a basis of improvement. Next. The training ensures that the learning, of course, environment is conducive. First, to make sure that you're able to absorb whatever is trained to you. So first is making sure the quality of the content itself. So we develop the content, it goes through peer review to make sure it's and the quality is there, assured, but also the quality of the people who are these trainings, like the experts. Second is the trainers signed a code of conduct. It's the learners themselves are called. As a team, we commit to make sure that, during these sessions, our engagement, not just with COLEAD, like really a basic requirement that we respect each other and we adhere to those codes. And so we all commit to that, and at the same time is making sure that the logistics and the quality of training enable your learning sessions and to enhance quality of your learning session. Next. So for this webinar, it's not seminar anymore. Please, like I requested, but I see a lot of people have already done that. It's to mute your devices so that we don't have a lot of interruptions. But at the same time, if you need to speak, raise your hand. I'll be checking on raising their hands, and if they have something to say, so please at any time feel free to raise your hand, and we can be able to you can be able to speak. And then please mute your anything, whatever. If you have a phone, you can get a space that is so that you can be able to get. But now I'd like to introduce officially trainers of today. Starting with myself. So that Barry, I have a degree and diploma in project management, and I've been doing, audits and trainings and capacity building and project management for the industry, to vegetables and working with international NGOs, and result program management Embassy of Ireland, looking at review of their programs targeting horticulture in general. But in terms of do many standards in terms of training and all data as a lead auditor for Rainforest Alliance. So I've done the, like, for example, in Africa, and colleague Martin, to please can introduce yourself. yourself.
Hello,
Mark?
good morning. Yes, thank you, Judy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Judy. First of all, I say good morning to each and everyone in this training session. As I'm given this time by Judy to present myself, my name is Marco Mondi. I am passionate in environmental conservation and environmental issues. And I've been involved in Rainforest Alliance activities for over 13 years now. And I've been a trainer and also an associate trainer of Rainforest Alliance. And I'm happy to state that in a number of countries where we have worked, especially in Kenya, we have covered the entire tea industry for which are managed under KTDA and also under multinationals, both in west of the Rift and east of the Rift. West, that means around Kericho, Kisii, Nandi Hills. And we have also done the same in Nairobi, around Nyeri, Murang'a, Meru, up to Embu. And apart from tea farms, we have also been able to train growers in the coffee sector and also in flower sector. And recently we have also started training farmers in avocado and other fresh fruit sectors. And under Rainforest Alliance, we have also trained our growers using the UTS certification program. And I'm happy that Rainforest Alliance has already merged with UTS, and whatever we are going to discuss, actually, it caters for both UTS farmers, Rainforest Alliance, including fair trade. And also we have a special bias on ethical biotrade standard, which are all combined. So apart from being a trainer, I've also been involved in some auditing, and I'm also an environmental consultant and also implementing a number of project development activities in the community. So I think we'll be sharing more about what we do, but we have a passion about what we are doing, especially meeting certification requirements. So Judica, I think that will be okay for now.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. So, and for our dear participants, so we would like you to, like you mentioned at the beginning, the objective is to make sure that we give you all the information that you need, for science, how to own expectations. I've put a link on the chat. If all of you can please check whether you can see it. Someone, if you can be able to open on the link and you'll be able to put your expectations. So what we'd like, in combination with what we've done, we've prepared, of course, a PowerPoint presentation for the session, but also we would like you to put your expectations. Put your expectations. I think I will just call someone to find out whether you can see the... I hope you don't mind. Basil, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I can see. Thanks. I've even opened
Who is there? Basil, are you there?
Yeah. I'm saying I can see the...
Elizabeth Mutoni. Okay, perfect. Mutoni, are you able to see? Please let me know whether anyone has any problem accessing that link. And I'll look at the expectations and maybe I'll try to read them a bit. Confess, could you mute your mic? Has Yeah, sorry, Peter, you can hear me?
Hello, Judy, your connection seems to be breaking out.
Oh, it's breaking. Sorry. I need to confirm whether people have been able to log in on Wood Club.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Rosemary, sorry, you'd like us to send that link?
Yes. Hello? Hello? My, what is the problem? Hello.
Okay, doing that right now. Rosemary, we can hear.
Yes, there is that colleague who is trying to join and he registered. He's not able. Can you help?
Okay. Yes, sure. Doing that. The rest of the people. So I'll be looking at the expectations. Mark, if you can continue sharing the screen as I share this link.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we look at your expectations, we can start.
Hello.
We continue with the presentation. Then we'll go through that presentation based on your expectations. So we'll try to make sure to cover the expectations during the session as we go on. So if I can ask the participants, as Mark is sharing the slides, why do the participants, and you can drop it on the chat, then we will see it. Why do we want to be certified for rainforest and not any other standards? Could you drop it on the chat? Let me see. Participants. To explore new markets, keep them coming. Thank you. For sustainability, standards available, market requirements. Thank you. Please keep them coming. I can see them. Keep the objectives coming. Why we want to be certified for Rainforest Alliance. I only have 2 for now, 3 now, to conserve the ecosystems, very good. For sustainability. One more. We are many. We are, how many? We are 19. Please drop some more. A requirement from a client, that's good. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more, and then we can continue. Client requirements. Okay, good. So we can continue as you keep them coming to enable rainforest for sustainability and quality farming. Very well, because that is actually one of the objectives of Rainforest Alliance. So for those people who have of course, who have done Rainforest Alliance for some time. As you know, the Rainforest Alliance as an organization has many objectives that it aims to meet, through the standards. And the standards for Rainforest Alliance, they're called the Sustainable Agriculture Standard, that has 2 different standards, and we'll cover most of that during the next 2-3 sessions, during the next few slides. But before we get there, we have one more thing. So finally, it's to mention that the webinar itself, it's organized by Next Kenya. That is a program of COLEAD that is funded by the EU and the OACPS. I hope you know that it's a former ACP. And we continue receiving your expectations. So from now, I'll hand over to Mark as I look at your expectations that you dropped on UCLAP, and I'll make sure that we are covering them as we continue. So handing over to Mark now.
Thank you,
please,
Judy.
if you can continue from there.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much. For those who are joining, my name is Mark Omondi, and I'll take you through about some of the requirements of Rainforest Alliance. And as you can see from the slide, this is going to be the structure of my presentation about Rainforest Alliance. And also I'm going to give you introduction to sustainable agriculture standards, how it is structured, a certification process, certification options, and compliance criteria, and some of the resources which are required by the certificate holders to comply with the process. And in case you have any question, I'll be very, very ready to get your question. And I hope at the end of the session, we shall have enjoyed the importance of this presentation. So if you look at on the screen, what we are aiming at, maybe as Rainforest Alliance, is to have the impact of Rainforest Alliance certification process in the 3 areas, as highlighted on the screen. Our core focus area is the people. We want to make sure that Rainforest Alliance certified farms are better and taking considerations of the people who are involved in the supply chains, which includes the growers, the farmers, the traders. Everybody on board has to be very happy and enjoy the business as we carry on. And when we say the business, it's basically the farming business which brings food on the table. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people are happy with whatever we are doing. Then the second area of impact is the planet. That's the environment, because most of our farming activities takes place in the environment, and we must make sure the environment is conserved, is well protected, so that we have a better place where we enjoy fresh air, we plant trees, and the ecosystems become more friendly as we adapt to issues of climate change as well. And also the other impact area is profits. We need to make sure that at the end of the day, whatever we are doing with the farmers, with the farms in the supply chain, everybody makes profit, so that at the end of the day, people see the importance of this certification program. As you look at on the slide there down, we have a website where you can get most of this information, how people benefit, how the environment can be conserved, and how we can make profits. I think at the end of the day, this is the reason why we are talking here today, so that people are happy, the environment is conserved, and we also have enough money in our pockets to attain dignified livelihood from the supply chain for small-scale farmers, those who are doing large-scale businesses in the supply chain. And as we saw that we have a mission and vision of Rainforest Alliance, and from what I've said, we are envisioning a world where people and nature thrive in harmony, where we don't exploit the ecosystems, we enjoy dignified livelihood by creating a more sustainable world by using social and market forces to protect nature and improve the lives of farmers and the communities. When I say we are using social forces, it's whereby we are using better systems within the marketing strategy, or the marketing norms where people are happy. We look at ethical standards, ethical requirements where people are happy, which have to be embedded in all the supply chain in whatever we are doing, so that at the end of the day, the social issues are given prominence, because whatever we do in this process involves people, and people have to be, people are in the center of all the business that we are carrying out. So in the approaches that we are using in the Rainforest Alliance, first of all, the approaches, it takes care of each and everybody, because it's an alliance of farmers where farmers come together to discuss on how to carry on with their businesses in a sustainable manner. We are also looking at forest communities to make sure that the ecosystems are well conserved. We are looking at companies and community consumers who are committed to creating a world where people and nature thrive in harmony. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that whatever we are doing on the planet, we are doing it in a justifiable manner, or in a system whereby everybody enjoys whatever they do. Then environment becomes a better and a safer place to live in, and people also enjoy interacting with the environment, having clean water, having climate resilient systems which does not compromise the environment, coming up with innovations which makes the environment a better place to thrive and stay in. So that approach has to take care of each and everybody, and that's why it's called an alliance, where all the stakeholders come together and commit to make the world a better place for people, and also having the nature conserved for them to thrive in. And this is done by making deep-rooted change on some of the most pressing social and environmental issues, which we are going to discuss in the standard, and which has already been implemented and has been proven, and on the while testing new innovations. Because for most of the farms where rainforests are, we have seen lots of changes. People are happy, environment is well conserved, and I believe whatever we are going to discuss today will bring even more change using the pressing social and environmental issues, which are given prominence in the Rainforest Alliance standard or Rainforest Alliance certification program. To the standard alliance, and if you go to the standard, maybe before I explain more of what we are doing, some of the feedback we have received from the participants, why they would like to go for. I am very happy with what they are presented, and what I would add is that a Rainforest Alliance certification program helps farmers produce better crops, also adapt to climate change, increase their productivity, and reduce cost of productions. So that's one of the mandates of Rainforest Alliance. It also benefits service providers and companies with a steady and secured supply of certified products, because we have to make sure that the companies of products which they are sure and they're happy when they're using it along the supply chain. And also, what I would also add, why RA certification, a Rainforest Alliance develops and implements long-term conservation and community development program in a number of tropical landscape where communities live. And that's very, very pertinent, because we have to interact with the community, because everything begins from where the community are. And at the end of the day, when we get SALT certified, the Rainforest Alliance provides a seal. And the moment you have that seal on a product in the supermarket or in anywhere in the world where you'll be using Rainforest Alliance certified products, the seal means that the certified ingredient was produced using methods that support the pillars of sustainability, social, economic, and environmental. So wherever you see Rainforest Alliance seal, it gives cognizance of the pillars of sustainability, that whatever we are doing it in a sustainable way. We have considered social issues, we have considered aspects of economics, and also environmental concerns. So those are very, very core as we discuss issues of Rainforest Alliance. And also in the Rainforest Alliance, there are some areas where we give core values, and the core values are openness. It's a very open standard where everybody interacts with. It builds trust among the players. It also enhances collaboration. And at the end of the day, we are looking towards making change, then finally have a lasting impact on the environment and also on the users. I hope I'm clear and everybody's getting me. Hello?
Yes, we are
Hello?
getting you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So let us look at overview of the standard. We have 2020 certification program. And as you can see on the screen, this is the framework of the standard. It's a 2020 certification program because from 2010 to 2017, we had Rainforest Alliance certification program. But from 2017 to 2020, Rainforest Alliance merged with the UTS and they came up with one standard. That's why it's dubbed 2020 certification program. So it has components of Rainforest Alliance together with components from UTS certification program. So it's a big program considering all those big certification programs. So if you look at the standard, we have sustainable agriculture standard, which as you can see is broken down into farm requirements. There are a number of farm requirements, which I'll take you through in the next slide, and also supply chain requirements. We have farm requirements and supply chain requirements, which are very, very important components of this standard. What must we do at the farm level? And what must we do along the supply chain to make sure that we comply with the requirements of the 2020 certification program? Alongside sustainable agriculture standard, we have annexes. That's what makes this certification program more friendly, because these annexes, which are binding for audit, they really guide the users on how to implement the standard. So it's a standard which is user friendly. Once you get the annexes, it's very, very easy to implement. Then we also have guidance document, which guides you on how to implement farm requirements together with the supply chain requirements, though these ones are not binding for audit. But annexes are very, very important document which growers and farmers, including large companies, are using to make or to implement requirements of the standard. Then if you look at the structure again, or overview of the standard, we have assurance system. The assurance system is put in place to make sure that the system is credible, and also farmers enjoy the benefits of certification by making sure that we follow the rules which are given, which I'm also going to give you more information on that. And at the same time, it also includes data systems and tools. When we talk of data systems and tools, we include a number of innovations which put producers at the heart of this innovation and also bring change. And also under data systems and tools is to build continued business innovation, which connects all supply chain actors to make sure that whatever we are doing makes a lasting impact in whatever we do. So I'll still bring you more information on some of these elements which we have on this slide, which makes this certification more and more credible and more friendly. So I'll go to the next standard as we looked at on the overview. If you look at the overview of the standard, maybe you'll give me a minute to take you back briefly on the previous standard. I mentioned farm requirements. And at farm requirements, some of these requirements are aimed at making sure that we have improved livelihoods for the stakeholders through sustainable trading and production practices, including shared requirements across the supply chain. So those are some of the requirements which are very pertinent there within the farm requirements. And also within farm requirements as well, we are looking at biodiversity, resilience, and regeneration, where we are looking at climate adaptation issues, biodiversity and resilience landscapes, including soil regeneration, which are taken into consideration. And at the same time, within the same landscape, we are looking at human rights issues by addressing specific human rights issues like child labor, forced labor, youth, and also issues to do with gender. So those are also taken care of in the same semester. So when we talk about farm requirements, including supply chain requirements, all these are given in detail, and they're very, very user-friendly. And for the farmers we have interacted with, they're very, very happy because at the end of the day, they see the benefits of this standard which we are discussing today. So if you look at the overview of the standard, this standard is structured into chapters. We call them chapters, and we have 6 chapters. And one of the chapter is called management. And in management, what we are looking at is to make sure that we have a strengthened farm group management system, whereby groups are strengthened, they are also empowered, and they are able to manage whatever they do at the farm level. And also under chapter 1, which is management, we are also looking at improved capacities and increased awareness of farmers and workers. We want capacities of farmers, capacity of the workers to be improved, and also to be aware of what they should do at the farm level. So this can only be done by making sure that their capacities are improved at management level, at both levels, but specifically at the top management level and also at the farm level. And also when you are discussing issues to do with management, we have to give prominence to farm groups, to use data to increase productivity by making sure that they keep records of what they are doing at their farm level, and be able to analyze this record so that at the end of the day, they'll be able to see whether they are making profits or they're increasing productivity. And that's the beauty of working with the farmers, to make sure that they are moving upwards. And also under management, we are looking at strengthened position of female farmers and workers. The issues of gender are also given prominent. And in chapter 1, we have a number of projects which are aiming at making sure that the issues of female farmers and workers are strengthened. And that's why we give provisions to gender policies, issues of human rights, due diligence, and we have a number of tools that really makes this area works very effectively. And all these have to be taken care of at management level of the standard, which is under chapter 1. And what's also important under management is to make sure that our farmers have access to finance, they are able to diversify. For those who are cultivating coffee or tea, they can diversify into other crops. They also have to be empowered to access financial resources to boost their farming activities. So all those are given prominence, and there are a number of resources which enables the standard to make sure that those aspects of chapter 1 are implemented. And we also have a clear monitoring framework to make sure that they are implemented, and at the end of the day, they benefit the farmers. So that's chapter 1. And as I told you, we have 6 chapters. So the second chapter is chapter 2, which is called traceability. As you can see from the screen, this is here to make sure that we have improved traceability and credibility of certified products, so that you are able to trace where your product has come from, you know from which country, when it was produced, and along the supply chain. So we have 2 major components of traceability that can be done online, and that can be done at the farm level. And so that the producers and even the consumer are able to trace where their products are coming from, so that they can claim responsibility and also be happy that they know where the products they're using have come from. Then, as I said earlier, the third is income and shared responsibility. As you know, farming is a very, very important task, and our growers, including the farms, incur a lot of resources, and this is very, very important at this level to discuss how to share these responsibilities. And so that at the end of the day, farms will be able to use sustainability investments to improve on sustainability. How do they improve on the investments on whatever they are doing? How can they sustain their business and also their farming? And also under income and shared responsibility, farmers and workers benefit from the Rainforest Alliance sustainability differential. How do we make profits, and how do we share these profits down up to the farmer level? So that's very, very crucial, so that the farmers will be able to see and also appreciate the importance of certification. So all these are very, very good information, because at the end of the day, we are aiming at making profit and also enjoy the importance of what we are doing. And also under income and shared responsibility, we are also looking at income of farmers, which should increase towards living income. It's good to make sure that for those who are involved in farming activities, are those growers happy? Are they enjoying a living income? Are they enjoying what they do on the ground? So this chapter is very, very important, and is one of the areas which we have received a lot of compliments. So that's those are the concerns in chapter 3. And if you go to chapter 4, chapter 4 is farming, and farming actually is the core business of what we are doing. Because without farming, we can't have these crops, which are today, and farming is the backbone of what we are doing. And when we look at farming, we are looking at agricultural production, which is more resilient to climate change. We know the climate is changing, but how are we going to sustain farming as a business? So we are looking at agricultural production, which is more resilient to climate change, like climate smart agriculture. And also at farming level, we are looking at optimal productivity of farm crops. How do we increase productivity at farm level? And how do we decrease production cost per unit area? Which way can we go so that farmers don't spend a lot of resources when carrying out farming practices? And also, as we look at farming, we have to look at the soil fertility, the health of the soil and fertility, so that the crops that we are discussing here will only give us fruits if the soils are healthy and are fertile. And also at the end of chapter 4, we have to look at improved quality and safety of crops. And under safety of crops, we have to describe the kind of fertilizers we are using, the kind of agrochemicals, those who are involved in the supply chain. Are we cultivating along the rivers? All those, there's a lot which is very, very important. And at the end of the day, farmers want using lower cost, and also at the end of the day, they enjoy safe. So it's another beautiful chapter within Rainforest Alliance, which requires more attention as well. I'll take you to chapter 5, which is social. A very ambiguous chapter because it involves social issues. It involves people of different categories, right from the farm level up to the market level. So there are many, many players in this area. And basically, we have to look at a number of social issues, because the same people are the one who carry out farming activities. They are carrying out management, but more so at chapter 4, there's a lot that people do. And we're looking at social issues, we are looking at the entire landscape, the entire farming landscape, where we must make sure that children are not exposed to harmful labor conditions when they are working, and they have increased access to education. So those are things which are embedded within social issues. We have to look at the welfare of our children so that we don't expose them to harmful labor conditions. And also under socials, we have to make sure that workers are not exposed to forced labor and their rights are protected when they are working. Issues of unions, how are we treating our employees? Also, workers are not exposed to discrimination or workplace violence and harassment in all the workplaces. And this really promotes the dignity of people that we are working with. That's why it's falling under social. So there's a lot of issues here which we need to discuss to make sure that the society is happy, and at the end of the day, they enjoy the benefits of where they are working conducive environment, where we also consider healthy and safe working conditions, and also families living in the working environment. The living conditions have to be safe and appropriate. And under social, where we have the community, because we interact with so many communities that whenever we're implementing Rainforest Alliance, we have to make sure that farms avoid negative impacts and support local communities wherever we are working, whether it's tea sector, whether it's coffee sector, whether it's flower sector. So those social interactions really mean a lot in what we are doing. And that's why the beauty of this standard is that at the end of the day, we consider the communities. That's what the core business look at: the community, the climate, and the profit. And all these have to work very well under social when implementing the Rainforest Alliance. Hello, are we together?
Yes.
I hope you are hearing
Yes,
me.
we
Thank
are.
you. You're so quiet.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, let me go to any question? So let me go to chapter 5. I know the question time will come. Chapter 6, which is environment. Let's go to chapter 6, which is very, very important component of the standard, which is environment. Everything, whatever we do here, we do it on environment. Any farming activities takes place on environment. And actually, there's a very thin line between chapter 4 and chapter 5. And under chapter 6, we have to make sure that we protect our forest and other natural ecosystems. We should not be destroyed at the expense of farming, because at the end of the day, we need the trees, we need the environment, we need to get fresh water, fresh air. So as we are doing farming, we have to make sure that we also protect the environment, the forest, and the natural ecosystems by planting more trees, conserving the ecosystems, the rivers. When we talk about environment, we have to consider protection of wildlife and biodiversity, the animals living in the forest. There are so many, there's a wide life there which we need to conserve, and the environmental conservation issues. So, and also in environment, we have to increase efficiency in water use and also energy uses, because most of the farms and the factories, the industries, they use a lot of electricity, they use wood energy, and all of this come from the natural environment. So we need to increase efficiency by making sure that we have clear records and have efficiency increasing mechanism in place for the people involved in the system. And also in the environment, we need to reduce, we have to make sure that waste that we generate does not pollute our water bodies and the ecosystem as well. That's also a very important component of environment, but we should minimize burning of waste to reduce production of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So in chapter 6, what's very critical is to make sure that we reduce greenhouse gases emission into the environment, because issues of matters of climate change are now given prominence, and most of these greenhouse gases, more so the carbon dioxide, the methane and the nitrous oxide, wherever they are found, the sources where they are, they should be reduced to minimal. If possible, we change from non-renewable to renewable sources of energy. So that's a very important component of environment, which we may not finish now, but in more sessions, there's a lot that can be discussed to mitigate effect on the climate, and also more so on issues of climate change. Because if our climate is changed to the negative, therefore will not be effective, because where are we going to cultivate our crops? And we may not have greenhouses everywhere. And we'll be able to make sure that our farming practices are sustainable. So I'll move to the next slide. I think that section which I've explained is the core of our presentation. Now I'll take you through the certification process. For you to be certified or to be Rainforest Alliance compliant, there are a number of processes from, as you can see from the table, there are 3 columns. The first column are activities to be carried out by organization to be certified. Then the second require from Rainforest Alliance, and also the third column is from certification body. Those will certify to make sure that they organize on plans. As I can take you through the table from number 1. For the organization certified, there's a platform called Rainforest Alliance Certification Platform. The moment you want to be RA certified, you'll be provided with a certificate holder. You will fill in information into this form regarding your score, regarding the risk that you have, the list of your farmers. Then from there, if you go to, as the arrow moves, as you can see here, then Rainforest Alliance will provide list of applicable requirements using this platform and risk-based verification level to the certificate. Certificate holder will contact certification body authorized by Rainforest Alliance. We have a number of certification bodies who are authorized by Rainforest Alliance for the certificate holder to use. Then certificate holder scope. The scope means the kind of activities that you are doing as a certificate holder, and that includes the crops that you are doing at your farm level. If it's tea, if it's coffee, if it's flour, the activities involved, certification, traceability label, and the risk that you may be having. Under the scope as well, you include the number of farms you have. If you have other sites, you'll have to include in that form. If you're working with subcontractors or other service providers, all this information will be provided in this Rainforest Alliance certification platform. Then after filling that, a certificate holder will implement applicable and self-selected requirements. In the previous slides, I showed you that there were farm requirements. So those requirements which are applicable will be implemented. Then after implementing that, you'll collect data, assess its own compliance, and upload data in the Rainforest Alliance certification platform. So data that you collect from here about your growers, the size of farms, you will upload them on this certification platform. Then this will provide, Rainforest Alliance certification platform provides audit preparation data and risk maps to the certification body. Then the certification body prepares and conducts audit. If there are non-conformities, then you will close them. If there are no non-conformities, then certification body takes certification decision and provides final audit report to RA. Then RA analyzes data. Then RA finds credibility risk. Then you'll be certified. But if there are non-conformities there, then you have to comply and you continue the same process. So this is the process. So this column 1 are activities to be carried out by certificate holder or any company that wants to be certified. Then this area will be given support by Rainforest Alliance, and this will be carried out by certification bodies or auditing firms. So this is the process for certification. It's a very straightforward process, very easy to follow. And as you fill these forms, you'll find that most of this information are certification programs, whenever you'll be implementing the applicable, which those requirements are what makes those chapters more credible. So those are what I can summarize as the applicable requirements, which by conserving the environment, using the right materials, or you select the right materials when planting, issues of child labor, issues of forced labor, those are some of the examples of the I explained from chapter 1 up to chapter 6. So if you get the standard, they are all well narrated from chapter 1 up to chapter 6, those requirements. So it becomes easy to implement because we have a standard which has details of chapter 1, chapter 2, up to chapter 6. So the certificate holder is only required to comply with the applicable requirements. You may not comply with all of them, but whatever is applicable based on your context. So I think I'll move on. Then we have certification option. We have a contextualized approach for smallholders and large plantations, and also for groups and individually certified farms, and also for individual versus multi-site supply chain certificate holder. So most of the farms to be certified may belong to any of this category. So if you look here, for example, under groups, we have groups which are certified, and under groups there are different categories. For example, for group management, there are requirements within the certification option which will be captured by the group management. If the manager will be responsible to make sure that requirements in the standard are implemented. Like for example, if you have a coffee processing unit or flower farms, and you have some of your small scale farmers supplying you with flowers, yeah, then those groups of farms will be certified under the group management. Will be responsible to make sure that those requirements are met. And also there are some large farms which are basically large on their own. They can be also be hello. Yeah, they can also be certified as large farms, and also hello. Yeah, there are also farms, small farm requirements. There are requirements in the standard which are supposed to be implemented by small farms. Let me give a small example for a coffee farm or a tea farm. There are some requirements like how to apply maybe fertilizers, the rates, and all that. So the small farms are also supposed to be trained so that they comply with those requirements. And for individually certified farms, the individuals who may not fall under any group, but they may opt to be certified individually on their own. And also, this standard also takes care of supply chain certificate holders, those people along the supply chain of the certificate holder. For example, if you are a flower company, there are people you are working with, like the warehousing, those who are doing labeling for you, those who are doing other activities on your behalf within the supply chain, and also those who are trading in whatever you are producing. Some of them may also require to be certified because they are dealing in a certified products. So they fall under the supply chain certificate holders. So this framework is clearly outlined in the standard, so it gives the certificate holders options of which requirement they need to comply with, which are very, very clearly outlined in the standard. So if I produce the Rainforest Alliance certification platform shall define which standard requirements are applicable to that. I think that one I've explained. Then a certificate holder may include one or more crops. You could have banana, cocoa, coffee, coconut, flowers, fruits, nuts, tea, and even others, yeah. But as a certificate holder, you may include one of these or even more crops. It can be cocoa and coffee, or coffee and tea and flowers. You can include it in the certification platform, in this Rainforest Alliance certification platform. Then other crops, others like herbs, spices, other herbal tea ingredients, and rooibos may be included in the certification scope as well. And when we have to take these considerations, we are including these ones. When cultivated with any other crop in the above list, and also for supply chain certification with no farming in scope. We have certification, people in the supply chain, they have no farming in scope, so they need to include these other spices. Then for chili and pepper, they can choose either Rainforest Alliance 2020 certification or ethical biotrade standard. This is ethical biotrade standard certification irrespective of points 1 and 2. So you can either choose this or this, because they mean the same. The requirements are basically the same, and they are recognized. Those two certification bodies. If you are RA certified, you are also recognized as ethical biotrade standard, because they cover most of these herbal tea, spices, and herbs. So you can choose to go for Rainforest Alliance or ethical biotrade Rainforest Alliance certification, irrespective of 1 and 2. So certification scope, I think that one I explained earlier. And from the slide which I'm projecting, vegetables may be included in the certification scope. As you can see down here, all certificate holders that produce, trade, or handle vegetables hold a valid food safety certificate such as Global GAP, HACCP, or comparable at any time during the validity of the Rainforest Alliance certificate. So when you are developing your certification scope, you may include those who are handling vegetables and they hold a valid safety certificate such as the ones mentioned here, or compare at any time during the validity of the Rainforest Alliance certificate. So those ones can also be considered for those who are handling vegetables. And in case of changing the status of the food safety certification, the certificate holder shall immediately inform the Rainforest Alliance and the CB and the certification body. So this is about whatever should be included in the scope. And I explained to you earlier the requirements in the scope, which should be discussed in advance. And as you'll be developing those scope, or if you opt for that, then you may consider including these other crops. And a certificate holder may include one or more activities in the certification scopes. And I gave you a number of activities, which I listed in that certification scope here. So there are lots of options for the certificate holders, what they can include depending on your complexity or whatever you're handling. So when you are designing your certification scope, it's very important to consider this. And it's very important for those who are involved in the market, because in the market there, you'll find buyers who are interested in area certification, Rainforest Alliance certificate. And if you are dealing in vegetables and those other spices, so it's very, very important because it gives you more market options for the products that you are dealing in. Maybe in the next slide. So we are looking at compliance criteria. When implementing Rainforest Alliance standard, we have a number of requirements which the certificate holders are supposed to comply with. One of the key one is called core requirements. Previously, we used to call them critical criteria, but now we call them core requirements, which are mandatory, which must be fulfilled. So wherever you are implementing the Rainforest Alliance standard, from chapter 1 up to chapter 6, each chapter has a number of core requirements. Core requirements means they are issues that needs to be implemented to make the Rainforest Alliance certificate credible. So those ones have to be implemented at year 0 from the moment you are starting to implement the project. Let's say from year 0 to year 1, when you get certified, those needs to be complied with, like having a register of growers, maybe developing having GPS positions for your farms, making sure that your workers have access to safe drinking waters. Those are just examples of core requirements. If your growers are handling agrochemicals, make sure they're using PPEs. So I'm just giving an example of some of the core requirements which are well outlined in the standard, which certificate holders needs to comply with. Then we have, after having core requirements, you may have some areas which you may not comply with right away, but you may need some improvement. They may require maybe 2 or 3 years for the certificate holders to implement. Maybe you have a plan and there are things you may not implement right away. You may need 3 or 6 years down depending on your work program. So you may have some issues that you need to do to improve your system. So we call them mandatory improvements. So at the time of audit, during your initial audit, this may not be mandatory. But after the second audit cycle, you have to make sure that whatever you plan to implement, there should be an indication that they are being implemented to show some progress and or improvements towards meeting the desired standard. So that's what we mean by mandatory improvement. So those are things you plan and you make sure that over time you make some changes and improve. A good example, maybe you may plan to build a house and maybe you don't have resources to repaint it. And you say maybe after 3 years, I'll do the painting. So by the time after 3 years, when auditors come back and you did the painting, then they'll say this improvement was done. So they give you a score there that you have really improved on what you planned to do. And also under mandatory improvement areas, for number one is during the first cycle of audit. Then mandatory improvements, this one comes into effect during the second cycle. The first cycle is after 3 years. Then the second cycle, this one is from year 1 to 3. Then this is from year 3 to 6. Then under mandatory improvement, we have what is called mandatory smart meter. Mandatory smart meter is a way of gauging whether you are making some improvements. A good example which I can give here, for example, a grower may plan to increase the acreage of his farm. Maybe he's planting potatoes or cabbage, and his or her projection maybe after 3 years, I want to increase my acres from 1 to 3. Then year 1, auditor will check whether there are those improvements from year 0 to year 1, year 1 to year 2. Are you really are you adding acreage? Or if you plan to train some farmers, you target maybe 100, then what progress are you making in between to make sure that you maintain that target? So those indicators, the records showing that you have done the training and the number of farmers reached, those are called smart meters, meters to gauge how you are progressing. So I think those terminologies are very clear because they are widely used in the standard and they're very, very useful. Then under self-selected improvement, there are that certificate holder may decide on their own, which may have not been captured in the standard. A certificate holder may decide that we are going to train our growers on other areas which are not in the then they put it in the work plan. So during audit, auditors will really help them to make sure that they are goals that they set. Though self-selected improvement, they are not mandatory for audit, but they are very, very, and auditors will take their time to make sure that our plan really aiming to reach the gates which they had. And also under self-selected improvement, we also have self-selected smart meters. There must be records to prove that the work is in progress and there's commitment from the certificate holders to make sure that they meet their set goals. So these terminologies are good. These are measures to show where we are moving. And that's why if you look at the next slide, as I said earlier, during first certification, from now up to when we'll be certified, from year 0 to year 1, this level, we have to meet all the core requirements together with mandatory smart meter. Maybe from year 1, you have to keep those records. So core requirements, which must be fulfilled together with the indicator showing that you are really making some improvements. So during audit, that's what will help the certificate holder to know whether they are moving in the right direction. Then during first certification audit, this certificate is valid for 3 years, which is after 3 years, then we go for the second certification audit. But in between here, this is what we call surveillance audit. Surveillance is for the auditors to help the certificate holders to know whether they are moving in the right directions and also to make sure that they are complying with the requirements of the standard so that to maintain integrity of certification. And also during second certification audit after 3 years, now there's need for the certificate holder to comply with the core requirements together with the mandatory smart meter and mandatory improvement, which is now called level 1. Level 1 is second certification audit. Then the third certification audit at the year of 6, now you comply with all this together with the mandatory improvement at level 2. So these are measures put in place by Rainforest Alliance certification programs to make sure that we will continuously improve and making sure that we conform to the requirements of the standard. As we work with the people, we maintain our farms, we increase productivity, have a well-conserved ecosystems, and this will really help us know whether we are moving in the right direction. Actually, the role of audit is to make sure that you are doing the right things, using the right resources, and you are moving in the right direction. So that's the essence of. And as we move in the right direction, make sure that people are happy, planet is well conserved, and at the same time, we are making profits, as I said earlier. So those are the requirements which we have a detailed standard with all this information, with annexes which will guide us on how to implement them, and also guidance document which will guide us on how to implement this. And up to there, I don't know whether there's any question before I go to resource implication on how to implement this program. Judy, I hope you are hearing me. Hello. Are we on board?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. So I can produce, I can proceed to resource implication. Okay, thank you. Let me proceed to resource implication. At resource implication, we are looking at some of the resources which we require to make sure that we implement, and also the cost incurred in making sure that we implement this process. So we need some equipment, we need human resources, we need to implement those action plans or activities, and generally all of them are certification cost. Certification cost is not only when you are applying to be certified, but when you are implementing all this and all the time frame and all the resources you are putting in place, we sum them as certification costs. And it includes, in a nutshell, and the example I have here, we have to train your managers, the workers, the employees on the requirements, so that at the workplace, they understand what is required. And all this may require resources and time by certificate holders during planning and also implementation of those requirements. And also at the certificate holders level, you need to carry out internal inspections, and those inspections will enable the certificate holder to know whether they are implementing or they are complying with the requirements in the standard. So those internal inspections, depending on the complexity of your farms, you may also require some resources to make sure that you implement them. That's why I'm saying it depends on complexity of your farms. Why am I saying that? You may find that some farms have employed more than 30,000 growers or workers, and to make sure that they all comply, so we must have a robust internal inspection mechanisms to make sure that we put an eye on the ground and make sure that all systems are working. We also need committees. As I said earlier, at the certificate holders level, we need a number of committees depending on how big the farm is, like management committees to make sure that requirements of the standard are implemented. We may require agenda committee, which needs to be trained so that they implement aspects of gender within the farm. We may need assess and address committee, and this is a new committee which has been also working very well while implementing RA requirement or Rainforest Alliance certification program, because previously, if certificate holders had issues with the certification bodies, they won't be certified. But with the new framework of assess and address, if issues are on the ground, this committee needs to go in front, assess the issues and address them, and make sure that at the end of the day, the certificate holder gets certified. So that's a very, very important committee. Then at the committee level as well, we need grievance committee, a committee that receives grievance on behalf of the farm, grievance from the growers, from the farmers, from the buyers, from the users of the products, from the communities, so that those issues are articulated and addressed. They are assessed and addressed. And we also have tools on how to implement all these, which will be provided by Rainforest Alliance. And those committees to be effective, they need to be empowered, they need to be trained, because at the end of the day, they'll bring a lot of benefit, increased credibility of the institutions, and also the organizations if those committees work well. You'll find that most of these issues we are discussing will be minimized at various levels if these committees are working. Then for the certificate holders, there's need for them to carry out risk assessments. And we have a risk assessment tool which captures all the chapters from chapter 1 up to chapter 6. And it's a well-developed tool which has been used globally by Rainforest Alliance, because it captures all the sectors from the farmers, from the vegetables, from the coffee and the tea. And you'll find this tool very, very useful. It is user-friendly for the certificate holders, and it will enable you to identify risk on your farms. At the same time, it will provide you with the mitigation measures, which will simply put into your management plans and you continue implementing. So this is just examples of some of the resources which may be required by the certificate holders, and it also, these are components of the certification cost. This may not be all. Maybe there are things like testing water, which may require resources, water analysis, waste management, and training your staff, which I've mentioned, and also taking care of auditors when they come, if you agree. And that's why I say it varies from one farm to another depending on your complexity. So certification cost is basically, it may sound new, but it's what most organizations have been implementing. They have been using resources to do this kind of things. And those resources, some of them, I believe, fall under certification cost, because for any farm to survive in the market, you must spare in resources for you to remain relevant and be accepted at the global market. And those costs which make you remain relevant and viable, what I can term as certification cost. And those costs are examples are like this one, as I've mentioned, as I've said, things like improvements in infrastructure. I've talked about organization of trainings, collection of data from the field, soil analysis, water testing. And now it depends on how big the farm is. And for most farms, we'll find they have management plans, or they have funds yearly. They do plan for what they implement, and they may fall within those budgets which are implemented by a number of organizations. Pause for some that colleagues may be having, and I believe my colleague Judy is there in case of any questions we'll be able to handle. And maybe the last session here. Yeah. So as Judy is preparing or getting some questions, you can find a lot of information about Rainforest Alliance from what I'm projecting. There's a website which you can log in as Rainforest Alliance, and you'll get most of this information that we are discussing here. Yeah. So thank you. So Judy, I'm back to you in case of any questions then, or anything that may require clarifications. And if possible, Peter can project for us some of the questions, maybe to enable our learners to get more insight of what I've discussed.
Thank Mark. Yeah, so just to mention that to the participants, like you can see from the presentation, Rainforest Alliance has, adopted a risk-based assessment. It's not a fail or pass kind of standard where you say you didn't do or you did. It's where you can see, like for example, on the smart meters, you can have your own improvement plan. For example, some of the requirements is that you have to have geodata for all your smallholder farmers, for example, and that you can start, for example, from year 1, I only have like 10%. Year 2, I'm going to have 30%. By the second recertification or the second certification audit, you already have 100%. The other things is on, for example, on forest cover and making sure your traceability is in place. So this standard, the new standard that is for 2020, is a very risk-based and a robust standard that is not pass or fail. And so it's different. For example, for the for you who are in fruits and vegetables, like, for example, a global gap standard has major mass, minor mass, the recommendations. And so some of them are either you're implementing or you're not. And therefore it's a pass or fail. But everybody now, even Global Gap itself, is moving from a pass or fail kind of standard to, continuous improvement, where certificate holders or people who are interested, they can adopt, a gradual improvement plan. And that is what Rainforest will be checking on, especially on those smart meters. And those smart meters are good because then you assess your own systems and set your own targets. Once you set your own targets, then what the certification bodies will be checking is looking at your own targets and seeing this is what you committed to. Are you following that commitment? And so it gives you an option where you can assess yourself and put sustainable and achievable goals in place. The other thing you've noticed is that on Global Gap itself, so you can't, if you're in fruits and not on vegetables, you cannot be Rainforest Alliance certified unless you're Global Gap certified, because issues of food safety are not covered by the by the Rainforest Alliance standard. And so Rainforest Alliance standard relies on your HACCP or your food safety management systems like ISO 22000 or Global Gap all the way from the farms to make sure that issues of food safety are covered. And so, and that may be a complication for people who are maybe are not interested in Global Gap, but they want Rainforest Alliance and you're in vegetables, but that's just the condition. And so it's something that you have to consider, especially if you're looking at the resources required and the kind of infrastructure that you have to put in place. And so you have to make sure that you're looking at those requirements. But on the slides that Mark has showed in terms of where additionally you can get information, the Rainforest Learning Platform is a very, very good platform where you can get more information, specific requirements per standard, and it's free really. Someone can do it at their own pace, and it's actually a very good interactive learning process that you can gather more information. But additionally, if you have any more questions, then you can come back to us to ask anything that you think you have missed or something that you think would be more useful for you. So do we have someone who has a question? Before I forget, please, I've dropped a link on the chat where you need to list your participation. Please fill that so that we can be able to capture that for COLEAD. I hope everyone has seen that. Have people seen the link where you need to register your attendance?
Yes, we have.
Is it the Zoom link?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you. I've dropped it. The last link that I've dropped is for attendance. But do you have any questions now from the participants? Does anyone have a question or a comment? Yes, we will share the slides. I've seen your comments. We'll share the slides and we'll share that with COLEAD. I hope someone from COLEAD can be able to share that with you. Any other questions?
Yeah, maybe a question from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you've mentioned, from my organization, we are planning to start the process. I've heard you mention like it's not a pass or fail, but it has the maximeter. And Mark mentioned like we need to implement the core requirements and maybe the mandatory requirements in the first year. So I'm confused. Even if now we are starting on the core requirements, will we fail or we need to have it like it is?
I think the best for you is to do an own internal assessment, because now I cannot just be able to comment on that. There are those requirements that you have to implement. But then before I say that, as you realize from the certification process, for anybody who intends to be certified, you have to apply to the Rainforest Alliance through the RACP. And then they'll give you, once you fill in your data about your organization, what you do, they'll define the scope and they'll define the requirements for you. Now, based on that requirement, on those requirements that they set up for you and sent to you, what you need to do an internal assessment. And we can do that, you can do an internal assessment to look at your systems even before you apply, you apply to the CB for the audit itself. So the best is to look at, yes, the core requirements you have to comply with, but if, for example, there are issues that you need to do corrective actions, it's also a simple process. There are some things that may not be simple processes. For example, Rainforest Alliance is very clear that if you have cut down any trees in terms of the original forest and protected areas and planted your crops, then you cannot be certified if you cut that after 2014. So there are some very big requirements there that you need to watch out for.
Thank you for the clarification.
Where are Rainforest office location, please? Would like to visit your office. So I see two questions on the on the chat. The first question is on internal inspections and internal auditors. You saw part of the requirements on that standard is the certification rules. The certification rules, and it explains everything about the certification. And if you have smallholder farmers and you have to train them and you have to inspect them, it explains who the auditors should be and the inspectors should be. So once you pull that as internal inspectors, the internal inspections themselves. So, but in terms of where are you, Rosemary? You're in Nairobi.
Yes, I'm in Nairobi and also in counties.
All right.
Because I deal with the groups of small scale farmers contracted, and I would like to learn more from you on how we can also train these groups of small scale farmers, especially women and youth.
All right, let me put my number here, then we can chat after this so that I understand what extra you're looking for, right? Is that useful? I've dropped my number there.
I can write it down. Please just one more time. I was writing it down so that I can call you. Please just put it again.
Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. Let me check the other question I see on the chat. The other question is it possible to have another training in future so that we can go through the standard? This can be done offline for some of us who are new to the standard to understand the requirements. Peter, are you still there?
Yes, Judy. I've just seen the chat and I've responded to Paul. Yes, if at all we have enough numbers, a good number of companies who actually have this, the same request, then
Yes.
bless you, Rosemary. Then we'll be able to organize. We'll be able to organize such a training.
Okay, perfect. So I hope that is answered. You have to create demand. Like we said, COLEAD will be looking at the needs the participants have. So everybody who has the need for additional training, especially to cover the entire standard, because that is a big training, then please send that to COLEAD and then Peter will be able to advise. On the location of the office, I've dropped my number there. You can call me after this, then we'll discuss. Any other question or comment? Okay, so with my number there and COLEAD's email address and all the communication. If you need additional information, please feel free to get in touch. So thank you very much for everyone for participating. Please fill your attendance sheets. Peter, it will still be running after this Zoom call if we drop.
Yeah.
Attendance sheets.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so to thank you everybody, and thank you Peter for organizing and hosting the meeting. We have like 10 minutes to spare. Thank you Mark for facilitating the training. And so we look forward to seeing you more in the trainings. I can see that it's coming in for the need for training. After we drop out, please send that to Peter, or do that when he's doing the evaluation. An evaluation will be sent to you to feedback on the training, and that is also your opportunity to say where you need additional training on the Rainforest Alliance. So thank you everybody, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and morning for people who are in Ghana. And thank you very much for creating time. And we wish you the very best as you start your certification board process, or as you continue from where you already are. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.